is that guy. I don't know if it's just the age. He's so young. Maybe he's a bit naive to it, or he just is that calm and collected, because the guy looks like nothing rattles him. And no play is overwhelming for him. He sees the field. He does it. So offensively, you feel good about it. The only problem that I get concerned with, Mike, is the Detroit offense is so efficient and productive. If they get a lead and you got to play from behind, that is a big problem. I don't care what team you are. Jayden Daniels, everybody becomes mere mortals when you're playing from a deficit like Detroit likes to put on you. That could be a problem.
But he certainly has stage presence for a rookie. He walked into the league.
You ain't kidding.
He walked into the league like that. We'll get you out of here on this. The Texans' pass rush, very effective against the Chargers. The Chiefs handled it, though, when the two teams played 3 weeks ago. Do you like the Chiefs to handle it again?
I do, and because they're going to go in with a plan, Tony. If you think about Andy Reid and Mahomes, the left tackle has been a turnstile at best. It's been below average. They moved Tooney out there to try to help it, who's a guard moving a tackle, who's played efficiently. So I'm not sure exactly what the answer is going to be, but rest assured, these last couple of weeks, that has been the conversation. How do we make sure Mahomes doesn't have to peek to that left side? He wants to make sure his eyes are staying downfield. They'll have a plan put in place, and there's no better than Patrick Mahomes understanding under pressure where to put the football. The Texans are going to have a massive night defensive line-wise. I just think the Chiefs probably have the answer, unfortunately, for the Texan fans.
As always, Jeff, thank you so much.
Love you,
Jeff.
fellas. Y'all have a
Appreciate
great one.
That's more important than I am, because Sunday night, when they played in Washington, you didn't go.
Yeah,
you went to Georgetown, but you didn't go see him. So now you dump me? That's great. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Sam Darnold's future, Dion's intrigue with the Cowboys, and Jeff Saturday joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Rams defense sacking Sam Darnold 9 times last night, intercepting him once and causing him to fumble, a scoop and score as Los Angeles throttled the Vikings 27-9 in their home away from home, Arizona. Wilbon, you thought the Vikings would win. What does this performance say to you about the Rams?
Well, beyond me underestimating the Rams, Tony, part of it, and you and I talked about this openly, privately, and then publicly over the last few days, the situation the Rams were facing, it just seemed so, I shouldn't use the word insurmountable, but it was just so difficult with what's going on back at home in Southern California.
Yeah.
And it was great of both. I know the Cardinals were involved in this, and the league and the Rams, to put families and even family pets on a plane. More than 400 people flying a couple of planes to Phoenix, to Glendale to play that game. The stress that has to be involved. I don't even know how you can focus. How can you concentrate on a particular task at hand, which is as exacting as a football game, a playoff football game? You can lock in on that with everything that's going on around your home. I have nothing but love and praise for the Los Angeles Rams, the way they went about their business, their preparedness, their professionalism, the inspiration which they played with. Maybe they derived some of it from the difficulty of the situation, a tragic situation in Southern California. I can't get over it. I can't believe what they did. I have nothing but praise for that team.
I'm going to get to what you said in a second. I'm going to go to the game, though, first, that it turns out in hindsight that maybe the most important play of the game is right at the top of the second quarter, when it appears that Stafford is, as he is sacked, that he fumbles the ball, that it's picked up, it's brought into the end zone. The referee goes like this, and you're thinking it's 10-10. And then correctly, they reverse that call because Stafford, he's not trying to throw the ball down the field, but he's trying to avoid the sack. After that, Minnesota never threatens again. The Rams get 2 touchdowns in that quarter. It's 24-3, I think, at halftime, and the game is over. And now to get to what you said. I watched Sean McVay and I watched Matthew Stafford talk about the fires in the post game. I watched that. I watched them, it seemed to me, try to come to grips with their small part in this larger whole here and what the Rams could do. I watched, I think it was Andrew Whitworth in the pregame ceremony, when he talked about the Los Angeles community and the strength of it. And he thanked the first responders, and he thanked the firefighters and all of that. And then I read that Roger Goodell said that 45,000 fans had flown or driven from California to watch this game. And I thought, Mike, maybe in their own way, the Rams took strength and purpose from all of that. Because I did not expect them to win either. I did not.
No, didn't either. Kudos. Kudos. Not even enough. Enough because there's no too much praise for the Rams and the organization and the team.
Puzzling team, though, Mike.
It's a disappointing.
They start out the season every year, last 2 years. They have a terrible record, 4 or 5 games in. Then they get hot and get to the playoffs. Puzzling.
They're playing well when it counts.
Yeah.
It's a disappointing finish, however, to a surprising season for the Vikings. After losing rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy in the preseason to a serious injury, Sam Darnold stepped in from oblivion and led the team to the brink of the NFC's #1 seed. But, Tony, where do losses in successive weeks to the Lions and now the Rams leave Darnold and the Vikings?
Yeah, so the convenient narrative here is to say that Sam Darnold reverted to being Sam Darnold. But just because it's convenient doesn't mean that it's not accurate. In the last 2 games that they've had with stuff on the line, the #1 seed in the NFC when they played Detroit, and this is a playoff game against the Rams, Sam Darnold wasn't very good. That offense only managed 9 points in each of those games. So, Mike, I think he cost himself a lot of money. I'm not sure someone is going to come through with a big long-term contract now. When they were 14-2, the team was carrying him around on their shoulders. They were touting him for MVP, and at that point, when they're going for the #1 seed, he has 37 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions, which is good. In the last 2 games, he's been sacked 11 times. He's got only 1 touchdown pass, 1 interception. He lost a fumble, which led directly to a touchdown. He yesterday, I thought he looked lost out there. You know, I mean, he really did. And I remember when he said when he was with the Jets, that he saw ghosts. And I thought, to a degree, last night was the ghost of Darnold past.
Tony, I totally agree with you. I'm going to take it further. Darnold looked lost, but so did his coach, who's a terrific coach. He looked lost. It looked like they didn't have a game plan, or the game plan was woefully inadequate. Taking 5 and 7-step drops when you need some quick passes to get away from that pressure, and you've seen it for 2 weeks. You saw it from Detroit, which provided a blueprint essentially for last night for the Rams. What are you doing? Why could no imagination from a staff that has been imaginative with Sam Darnold? Now, Tony, here's what we know from covering football, covering all sports for a lot of years. When you spend a first-round draft pick on somebody, you anoint that player. You say, this is our guy, and we're giving him our blessing. And that's what's going on with the kid from Michigan. And so Sam Darnold, to me, has thrown his last pass to the Vikings.
Really?
In a way, this is awful because he did win 14 games.
Yes.
My goodness, he had a great season. But, Tony, when executives, when they tap you on the shoulder and they stand up there and they let that kid hug Roger Goodell and they say, with the whatever pick of the first round we are selecting, that is their golden child.
You don't
They're
think
not
Darnold
giving up on him.
You don't think Darnold's going to get the franchise tag for $40 million? You don't think he's coming back? He may not start anywhere else in the league if you're right. If you're right, because you know what?
Start somewhere else,
I thought the same as you thought. Throw the ball away. You can't keep taking all of these sacks.
What are you doing?
Throw the ball away. All right.
He looked overwhelmed. He looked totally overwhelmed last night.
And he had a great year. And now it looks like the whole season is a failure, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. They won 14 games. Let's go back to the Dallas Cowboys coaching situation from the other day. It is still vacant. But here's a name that might rush into the breach, Deion Sanders. Deion and Jerry Jones have already talked once. Deion called talking with Jerry, quote, truly delightful and intriguing, unquote. Wilbon, what would you call it?
Irrelevant. This is going to come down to some real difficult decision-making for both Jerry and Deion if it advances, if the talks advance and become relevant. The first conversation I don't think is relevant. Tony, there's an essential question here to me. Can the Jerry Jones brand, and Jerry's ultimately interested in his brand, and it's mostly the Cowboys, but it's also the Jerry Jones brand.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, I got you.
Can that exist productively with the Deion brand? And Deion can coach him up, But Dion is in it for the Dion brand. You see Dion in commercials with all kinds of people. And, you see Dion as a character, as a duck. He's in it with Saban.
Yeah.
The Dion brand and the Jerry Jones brand, they are two of the top. With anybody named Kelsey, they're at the top of the brand business in the NFL. They actually get recognized without saying their names in the United States of America, which other football players, even quarterbacks, don't get.
Yeah.
So I don't know, until we know whether that can be reconciled, I don't know what to think of it. It's intriguing. I mean, it would just blow up the airwaves. We talked about this yesterday. But I don't know if it works. I don't know if it makes sense. And I wonder if either one of the two of them, mostly Dion, would say, Jerry, I love you, but we're not going to go there.
I'm going to track over a lot of what you're saying. My first impression was that this was a pipe dream, that it won't happen, that it can't happen, because Jerry Jones is not going to hire anybody more famous than he is. And Deion Sanders is calling attention to himself every day. Yeah, he's in that commercial with the duck, the Aflac commercial. He also, on the sidelines, coaching Colorado, wears a sweatshirt with his own name on it, Coach Prime. He is an actor, he is a character, and I say that with all due respect because I love him. But then I began to think, well, you know what? Why not? Jerry's 82 years old. He wants to win one more time with the Cowboys. He knows that the people he's hired recently don't have the spark that Deion has. He was there with Deion. Deion played on that team. Deion won a Super Bowl with that team. So maybe Jerry says this: I can share the spotlight with Deion because the spotlight's going to be bigger than it's ever been, because the Cowboys brand is going to be bigger than it's ever been. I'll tell you this, Mike, and I'll get out of here. The biggest coaching news in the last 4 or 5 years is Bill Belichick going to North Carolina. If Deion went to Dallas, that would be bigger. Let's take a break. Still to come, could the Ravens succeed with weekend's divisional playoff games with our great friend, ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday? Let's start with this. The Eagles beat the Rams 37-20. That's a beatdown earlier this season. But do the Rams look like a different team to you now, Jeff?
Yeah, they absolutely look different. And to your point, 200. I think Saquon had 255 yards rushing. I think 300 yards of scrimmage. Even A.J. Brown had over 100 yards. So they got after him pretty good. But I would say when you look at the Rams, that young defensive line has continued to mature throughout the season. Obviously, putting an exclamation point on what they did to Minnesota Vikings this past weekend. So as you're looking at them, they are definitely a different team. But I'll say this. Philly is getting better as well. I know people have been very critical of the way they played in the playoff. Make no mistake, it's still one of the most physical teams in the NFC. Their game plan ain't changing. It's going to be an onslaught of physicality this weekend.
Let's talk more about onslaught of physicality by changing the topic to the Ravens, who are just trashing people with their running game, whether it was 299 against the Steelers, 271 earlier against Buffalo. Jeff, I know how this excited you. I could hear it in your voice in the subsequent morning, seeing a running game just mash people. Can the Ravens do this again in Buffalo?
They can. I think that is going to be the matchup, Mike. When you think about how do the Bills beat the Ravens, they're going to have to slow down this running game. And what makes that very difficult on top of Derrick Henry, it's the style that Baltimore wants to play with Lamar Jackson now a part of that running game. They don't typically do that throughout the season, but you saw the way he played this past weekend. He from the first quarter on, he was hell-bent on making sure he was going to get his carries in. So I don't know if the conversation with Mom changed him, but my man was about that action. And when he pulls that ball down, that means your backside. And I'm just telling you, even your backside, if it's one-on-one, Lamar's winning 99 out of 100 of those. So you're probably leaving two guys on the backside of that defense to make sure you're keeping up with Lamar. Now that leaves your front side open. It's going to be really interesting to see how Buffalo combats that, because Buffalo wants to do the same thing with Cooks and Allen. It's just a matter of who executes better. I am fired. This one right here, it doesn't get any better than this. This is going to be excellent football. They like big tight ends. They like extra offensive linemen and fullbacks who might as well be offensive linemen. Hey, my plate is full, baby. Got my cup runneth over for this weekend. I am ready.
I'm excited about that as well. This sounds like jumbo packages that the old Washington teams used to talk about. Speaking of Washington, Jeff, if you're blocking for the Commanders for Jayden Daniels, how do you deal with what Detroit is doing in the...
And they'll try again, 2nd and 10. They'll fake the handoff. Now Smith. And he's taken down. This will be a Brown sack.
Okay, you know my bias is about to come out here. A lot of people think that the offense is just moving in the wrong direction. I'd say they're moving in the right direction because the defense is pushing them back.
Former defensive guy. Now, as a quarterback, 3rd and long, you really got to rally the troops here, don't you?
Yeah, you do in a big way. And what else do you have to look out for? More pressure coming at you because it seems to be working pretty well.
3rd and long, it's Smith escaping the pressure right. Slings this deep. This is caught inside the 15. And he takes it in. Touchdown, Washington.